Hello and welcome to episode 216 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, the first podcast specifically to cover FC Cincinnati and the Cincinnati soccer scene. For those of you tuning in for the first time, I'm your host, Brian Weigel, and we are about to have one great show together. As a reminder, if you'd like to join in the show, we have lines open on the Cincinnati Soccer Talk hotline at 513-399-KICK. I'd like to thank you for joining us on the main show. As most of you know, we've changed the format of Cincinnati Soccer Talk a little bit over time, and that journey continues today. I'd please ask that you also check out our other shows that give more in-depth analysis, such as Talking Tactics with Coach Brad Goff, that goes into great detail on how FC Cincinnati defeated Atlanta United last week, as well as what changes we could see versus New York. We also have the March to Match Day podcast with Birthday Boy and Mr. PTO Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle and the evil twin Brad Weigel. They speak to beat writers and podcast personalities to get a view of each week's opponent. This week, they speak with Ben Cork, editor of SB Nation website, Once a Metro. So go subscribe and download on your preferred podcast network today, and please rate and review us as possible. So, with all that being said, now's the time to welcome in our cast of characters for tonight's show. Please welcome, now in high definition, he looks so pretty, Clay Winstead.
Well, thank you so much. I've always looked pretty, now just the camera's caught up to me.
Now it's just caught up to you. You look a little more done up. There's no spur stuff on there. Y'all in a button-up shirt.
I know. We got a new co-host. We got a new co-host. I thought I'd step up my game a little bit.
Well, we are very excited to have you on, pal. And to our next co-host for the evening, it's time for the snare master of the Bailey, the Wolfman, Bill Wolf.
Oh, man. Gosh, snare. It's been so long since I've had a chance to touch the drum. I'm not even sure it's in tune anymore. I can't wait. At some point here, hopefully in the season, I can crack that out. I can be the one guy in the Bailey. Safe distance and all that stuff. Nobody else in the Bailey but me. I'll just play my snare.
Well, if they limit,
I'm ready.
Remember, if they limit people coming into FC Cincinnati matches, to 500 people, I think they have to include you. You're like club royalty, so it has to happen. So,
if they give us a club priority, I'm in.
Right. There we go. That's true. You and Matthew Long will be in there. So, for our next co-host and our newest members of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, I'm actually going to welcome back in our producer and founder of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, Nick Suberling, to give the intro for this new special edition to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Nick?
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you letting me have the reins again. You're doing a fine job, by the way. I appreciate you filling in and doing a wonderful job hosting Cincinnati Soccer Talk. As you know, we've got a lot of things going on. We're always looking to improve Cincinnati Soccer Talk, and so we're really excited about our newest addition to the show. Our next and newest analyst to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, I really believe will begin to set Cincinnati Soccer Talk apart from all the other podcasts covering FC Cincinnati and covering soccer in Cincinnati. So this next gentleman played Major League Soccer for 11 years. He was a professional soccer player. You know him as a midfielder for FC Cincinnati. He won an NCAA championship, an NASL regular season championship, a USL regular season championship. He was a 2015 FIFA Pro Merit Award winner. He was also the NASL Humanitarian of the Year, MLS Works Humanitarian, and most importantly, was a member of Cincinnati Soccer Talk's FC Cincinnati Team of the Decade. In his time off the pitch, our newest member has supported countless humanitarian and charitable causes, including creating a school for children displaced by civil war in his native Sierra Leone. He has produced music, wrote for the Players Tribune, and has been a soccer contributor on television with beIN Sports USA. Ladies and gentlemen, the newest analyst and member of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Let's give it up for Michael Lahoud. Michael, welcome to CST.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm just really honored to be here, and just thank you for the introduction.
We are very excited to have you, Michael, and this is a special moment for you. I know you've been a great professional soccer player for 11 years. You've been across the country playing in all sorts of high level matches, across the world even, with Sierra Leone in World Cup qualifiers, African Cup of Nations, and things like that. So, bringing you on here to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, people might have not heard from you for a little bit. What have you been doing, since your time in Cincinnati, and then of course last year in San Antonio?
It's a great question. Like you said, soccer took me from Cincinnati, where such a memorable moment in my career, to San Antonio, Texas, which is a place I never thought I'd be. But the game of soccer takes you to some of the most unlikeliest places. And San Antonio was probably the only other time in my career where the game of soccer off the field was such an enriching, the experience off the field was such an enriching experience that I decided to stay twice. So knowing that I wanted to still be here, I wasn't sure in what capacity I wanted to continue with the game. And so during the off season, I sat down with family and friends and thought about what was next. And COVID helped make that decision for me. I would never wish that on anyone, but because of coronavirus, it gave me the gift of time. And most recently, I made a very difficult but fruitful decision to retire from the game and transition into what's next.
Well, we're really excited to have you on board. When I reached or approached you, I thought there's no way this isn't going to happen. Mike's not going to. He's not going to come on. Since this is, he's a fan favorite. He's a big time FC Cincinnati player. So it was just really I just took a shot, and you were really eager and excited to get going, and that took me by surprise. So what's kind of your post playing career plans? Like, what is it that you're looking forward to doing other than being on Cincinnati Soccer Talk?
Yeah, well, priority number one is always being here. But the next chapter and the next act of my career is going to be in broadcasting, digital content creation, and media in general. While you're playing, you don't realize the things that you're engaging in that are setting you up for life after. For some athletes and some players, it's coaching. For some, I feel like our Cincinnati team in 2018. Half of our team could have been models, whatever it is you're doing. We had a lot of pretty boys, or guys who thought they were pretty boys. And they happen to be really good at soccer as well. But for me, it was always media and broadcasting and digital content creation. One of the nicknames I was given on the team was Social Media Mike. I love social media. I love engaging. And so it took a while for me to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, but I'm really glad that my experiences led to stepping into what's next, and I'm really grateful and honored that this is the start of it.
Yeah, we're pumped too, and I go back to, and I've said this before on the show, my favorite interview that we did in the 216 episodes of Cincinnati Soccer Talk was when you came on the show back in episode 120, and I thought to myself back then, even when you were on the show with us, you were so well spoken, you had a lot of great, well thought out thoughts. I mean, you could tell, okay, I think he's going to do this. I think he's going to be in media. And at the time I thought, man, wouldn't it be great if he could end up here? And I like I said, I didn't think it would happen, but I'm so ecstatic. I'm so thankful that you're here. And I speak for everybody at Cincinnati Soccer about how excited we are to have you on board.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to get to work.
So speaking of getting back to work, we've seen you on TV on BN Sports. We've seen you, evaluating European games, MLS matches on social media. What have you made specifically of FC Cincinnati, over the past season with their transition to MLS, and as well as the changes to the group under Jaap Stam this season?
First and foremost, because of the amazing experience I had in Cincinnati, I am and will forever be the FC Cincinnati fan. I'm happy I can say that now without being contractually obligated to another team. I think I'd never been anywhere where the city and the fans really embraced a team. It runs in everyone's blood and veins, and Cincinnati's a sports town, and it really left its mark on me. And I hope during my time I was able to leave my mark on the city of Cincinnati. And even though I wasn't able to make the transition with the club, I always kept close eye on what was going on. And it was a bit disheartening to see some of the struggles, especially for the club and organization being at the pinnacle when we were in the midst of transitioning in the USL, the regular season championship. We were literally the talk of the town. We were literally the talk of soccer in America that year. And so to see, a bit of a fall from grace that's happened in the last couple of seasons, the instability, coaches coming in and out, I think for one, as a fan, it's frustrating, but two, it's really hard to be an expansion team. Not everyone can be an LAFC or Atlanta United. There's growing pains. We see that in Minnesota United, and it will take time to get it right. And I was really encouraged to see the team, get a victory and right some of the wrongs from the first night, to really breathe some life back into FC Cincinnati and start building towards a standard that, as a former player, those of us who've gone before have helped build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was amazing to get that monkey off our back versus Atlanta this past week. And, the club has been so special, and it's been very difficult, covering the team over the past year to, only talk about negativity. So it's kind of great. Hopefully we're turning the page with the Ops Tom, and, very happy to hear your thoughts on the team. A couple other questions. Have you been able to talk to any players, whether it be the players that are back in the USL or maybe even players down in the bubble?
Yeah, I've had loose conversations with former teammates in particular and some of the guys in the bubble. And the initial reaction was a combination of a little bit of fear, but mostly excitement. There's nothing like being a professional soccer player, and there's nothing like this game that we all love. And for some people at home who are new to the game, this is the most unique sport in the world. There's literally nothing like it. Sorry, NBA, sorry, NFL. Sorry, every other sport, soccer is the best sport in the world. And so even in the midst of a pandemic, the overall feeling and vibe I got from a lot of guys was excitement and antsiness of, we want to get back to work, and we're willing to make the sacrifices and put ourselves out there to get our careers back online. And we have families to feed and careers to really get back on track. And so I commend the players who are braving the odds and putting their health on the line, and they're doing it in a class way.
What's been your first impressions of the play in the MLS's back tournament?
I think you could see the initial rust, and some of the veteran guys that you're used to seeing flying on all cylinders, some of them are out of shape. I think this is a tournament that you will see some of the homegrown players really step up. We were all young. Those of us that played, your fatigue levels know no bounds when you're young. So I'm really interested to see what young players will step up. I think for FC Cincinnati, Frankie Amaya, who baller. Talked to a good friend of mine, Justin Hoyt, and he said if there's one kid that you need to keep an eye on, it's this kid, Frankie Amaya. And so really impressed with him, with how he's gone about things. And he's a fighter. He's talented, but he's a fighter. And you're seeing in Orlando City, I think Mueller is his name.
Yep,
He's one of the standout players of the tournament. And you see, a guy who's becoming a established veteran, Jassy Zardes, as well. Hopefully they continue to do a little bit of work tonight on that front. So yeah.
Well, man, we're very excited to have you as a member of our group, and can't wait to hear more about your thoughts on this past weekend, what lies ahead, and hopefully another win for FC Cincinnati. Guys, listeners out there, the journey of Cincinnati Soccer Talk has just been amazing over the past 5 years. We started as a way for FC Cincinnati fans just to connect with one another, and now, with Michael, with Coach, with Jeff, with DJ, of course, Clay and Bill here as well. We're trying to provide some of the most in-depth content, unique content possible, whether it's all the different shows, all the stories you see on the website. Heck, we're even trying to do deep dives into the OVPL as well as the Women's League here in Cincinnati. So none of this would be possible without you, the listeners, and we've listened to you, and we've tried to do as best we can to create the best product possible with Cincinnati Soccer Talk. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and none of this would be possible. None of this, we wouldn't be able to have Michael here if it wasn't for the immense amount of support that you guys give us. So thank you very much. Now, if you want to ask Michael a question, Phones are open, guys. It's your show. If you want to talk to Michael, you have any questions for any of us, please call in on the Cincinnati Soccer Talk hotline, 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK, or leave any messages in the Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter chats. So briefly, the plan for tonight is we're going to cover the Atlanta United match here in a couple of minutes. We're going to dive down into our new debate segment that we started last week, and then we'll preview briefly the match versus New York Red Bulls, and then take your listener questions. And as always, if you have any questions you want to email in, or if you want to email Coach for Talking Tactics, email us at feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com or tweet #AskCST. So guys, let's dive down into Atlanta United real quick. And this is where the format of Cincinnati Soccer Talk is going to differentiate a little bit than what we've done in the past. We used to do deep dives every show, and now we're going to kind of take what I like to call a 30,000 foot approach. We're leaving Coach's great show. He does the in-depth, every 10 minutes, every key play. He breaks that down. So if you want to go listen to that, please go check out his show. And, this is going to supplement that. And we're going to dive down into specific topics going forward. So you'll kind of see a little bit of format change. So if you have any thoughts, please let us know. So guys, the big key coming into this match is, right before the match even started, Jaap Stam decided to shake up the formation and the tactics of the group and rolled out a 3-5-2 defensive shape formation against what was thought to be the juggernaut offensive team of Atlanta United. It seems through 2 matches, now 3 with Columbus, that they aren't so great. But coming out of that 4-0 drubbing to Columbus, you saw Michael Vanderwerth move into the starting 11 into a back 3. Stam also swapped in Caleb Stanko for an injured Sam de Jong, who looks to be coming back, and then changes along the back line with Mathieu Deplan as one of the 3 center backs, and then the addition of Andrew Gutman on the left wing back role and Joe Zhao on the right wing back role. You could see it right from the start. Joe Zhao was he was the standout player of the match, created 7 successful dribbles in that right wing back role, some of the best passing connections, dishing it to Adrian Regatin and Yuya Kubo. Early on, FC Cincinnati frustrated Atlanta's key players, Ezekiel Barco and Pity Martinez, in that defensive shape that Stam set up. In that low block, the forwards sitting back, Barco and Pity really struggled to create and draw FC Cincinnati out of that shape. FC Cincinnati caught lightning in a bottle, figuratively, in the 26th minute as Jake Mulroney picked up his 2nd yellow, and see ya, he's gone. So that was great. Gave us a little leg up there in that match. And fortunately, VAR, Ken Hecker's best friend, bailed us out as Michael Vanderwerth took on Ezekiel Barco. In the box, showed that there was an offside of an Atlanta player moments before, and the ref waved it off, went into half 0-0. Things were pretty quiet in the match. No urgency at FC Cincinnati, except for Joe Zhao's his quality dribbles in the match. Cincinnati finally picked up their first shot on goal in the 60th minute off a great exchange between Joe Zhao and Yuya Kubo. Kubo just missed his shot low right to Braguzan. But fortunately, and this is my favorite call, John Champion referred to it as the bolt from the blue. Frankie Maya put in the decisive goal in the 76th minute off a great pass from Adrian Regatin. Laid the ball off on his left to the proximity of Atlanta D-mid Jeff Lorenowitz on his right. It was a great play by Frankie Maya, putting it off to his left and curling the ball past Brand Guzan to get FC Cincinnati the 3 points. It's so needed to advance into MLS's back. Things pretty much were quiet from there on. A couple things. Stam, he made his first substitutions of the match besides an injury substitution to Michael Vanderwerth in the 70th minute. He made most of his changes in the 85th minute and later. We'll discuss that. Is that a good move? And then a couple other things happened. JJ Williams was tossed in the 90th plus 10 after kicking out at Kendall Waston. Waston made that is about as flagrant and awesome as possible. Dive in there. And then unfortunately, Brandon Vasquez missed a goal in the dying moments off of a sublime ball from Yuya Kubo. So guys, 30 days without an FC Cincinnati win. They did it. Finally got the relief. The 30,000 foot view now. I want you guys to give me your positives and negatives of this match. We'll start with the positives. I'm going to start with you, Clay, first. Give me your positive of the match, and then we'll dive down to a little bit of specific topics after that.
We kept a clean sheet. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I know a lot of fans were clamoring for that aggressiveness when we went a man up, but particularly coming off that 4-0 loss, Stom was able to get them in a shape that they held to it. Even when it was 11v11, those first 26 minutes, Atlanta had 0 shots on target. And Barco and Pitti, they don't have Joseph with them. Still an incredibly dangerous duo. So for us to frustrate their offense like that, keep our shape, and then slowly build our way into the game going forward in the second half, I was just incredibly impressed with the defensive effort as a whole. And then for the negative, I will have to say, wait, we're going around.
We'll do positive first. We'll do positive. I'm going to go to Michael next.
Please.
I definitely echo those sentiments. I think a big positive is, you see who wants it. I think when you're a new manager and you come in, you're seeing who has that extra bite, who, when things get tough, who has the character, who has the resilience. And you found yourself, a new star in the making in Frankie Amaya. And, he's someone that I said earlier in the show that really been impressed with. He's been so close a few times to getting that first professional goal. And good young players step up in big games and big opportunities. And he sees his opportunity well as a world-class finish. And, you have a young player now that you can look to be one of your go-to guys and build off of that.
Yeah, I think he had one heck of a game. Actually, first couple matches to start this MLS is Back tournament, and I know Jaap Stam has singled him out quite a bit, even in the national media on MLSsoccer.com. Bill, what's your thumb up for this match?
I'm going to say patience. Literally going opposite of Taylor Twellman, right? I mean, Taylor was bashing on this team for not charging forward and score, attack. I think, looking at our 4-0 drubbing in the first game, right, it was obvious that defensive shape, management and such was what we worked on. I think we went into this saying, let's not give up a goal. Let's focus on this. And we did. And I think that shows a lot of, it showed that people listened, and it showed, that we were maturing as a team, and the fact that we had a game plan and we followed it. And I think on top of that, we just recently saw before that a game where DC United, right? There was like red cards and men down, and they still came back and scored goals. And people just assume that if you're a man up, that you should just attack and that there's no risk, and there is. In fact, a lot of times teams get scored against because they assume that they have that advantage. And I think we showed a lot of patience, and I think we stuck to the plan, and I think that was the thumbs up for me.
All right, now let's go to, maybe something that might not have been, something that you liked, and maybe we can improve upon with what I like to call a thumbs down with Clay.
Jaap Stam is continuing the proud tradition of FC Cincinnati managers who refuse to make a timely substitution, and it is driving me insane. This is going to be it's one of my nitpicks always. Particularly now, you have 5 substitutions. You have halftime to add those players into the game. It is hot, even at night or in the morning. It's hot in Orlando in November. So, 8 p.m. in July and August is not any better. So I don't know. This is only his second game, but I would love to see him get some fresh legs out into the field that can actually make a difference for the team, because I think that's a wasted opportunity.
Michael, you've been a pro for a while. You've seen this game from all different angles. What was something that you'd like maybe FC Cincinnati to improve on going into this match versus New York?
It's always hard when you haven't won in a while to be the aggressor. There's a bit of uncertainty, but I didn't agree with the full-fledged nature of what Taylor was getting at with the team, with, come on, what are you doing? But there was a part of me as a fan that was thinking, hey guys, at some point we need to win this game. Mm-hmm. Can we get out of that shell and not play as, still keep our discipline in transition, but who's going to take a risk? When you're up a man, you have to change how you play. And, we're sitting here talking about Frankie's wonder goal, but say Frankie doesn't hit a shot like that, that could be something where we're, as time goes on, you're up a man, you're allowing the other team to gain confidence. And teams that have a man down tend to play with reckless abandon and say, we have nothing to lose, let's go for it. especially a team with dangerous weapons like Atlanta United. So moving forward, especially for this next match, a team like New York Red Bulls that you can catch in transition, especially with how they're set up, the discipline is there, the tactics are there, but at what point do the players or the manager say, you know what, let's go for it? And I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about that quite a bit here in a minute. Bill, what's your I guess, negative thumbs down?
I think just in general, we don't have any teeth, and I don't think that's a big surprise to people. Lacadia was the $1 million man, the multi-million-dollar man, and he's not playing. So he was our attack. I think what surprised me a little bit, and now in hindsight doesn't, is that I thought Regatin and Kubo were going to be more dangerous up top. Looking at Atlanta United now, I kind of see the same thing happening with us. It's happening with them, right? I mean, everybody talks about Barco. Everybody talks about Petey. They're obviously quality players, but we're seeing Atlanta struggling without Joseph Martinez. And it's because those players don't have Joseph Martinez to play off of. And I think we saw some real positive signs early in the season with Lacadia and Kubo and the small pairings that they had. We saw Regatin in there. And with that quality player up top, it opens up space that allows those other players to do quality things. And I think, unfortunately, we're seeing the same thing that Atlanta United seen is those players, even though they have the quality, they need that target up top to make that difference. And we just don't have it. We don't have the teeth right now.
Well, it was at least a very exciting. I don't know if exciting was the right word. I know Taylor Twelmo would disagree with that. It was nice to see a win. And so that's something we can be thankful for. And I know, as what Jaap Stam has said, it's being realistic where we are right now. And I think there's definitely a ways to go, and it sure seems like it. As I said, guys, if you want to call and you want to ask Michael or any of us guys a question, please feel free to do so. Our lines are open on the Cincinnati Soccer Talk hotline, 513-39-KICK, and we are actually going to go to the phones right now. Richard from Lexington on the line wanting to talk about Brandon Vasquez. Richard, how are you?
Hey, Brian. How y'all doing?
Wonderful, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Watching this Columbus match right now. But I'm just really thinking with sort of the formation we have and the players we have, we need to be I feel like we need to be pretty defensive. And that sort of requires kind of a relief valve up top. Locadia is a great relief valve, and we just need someone we need a physical presence up top that we can get the ball to. I don't understand why Vasquez hasn't been that. Is that just because maybe he was Ron Jan's little project, or maybe the new coach Jaap Stam doesn't like him? I don't understand. I know he had a great chance at a goal. I wish he would have nailed that one, but I'm just curious. I feel like maybe he's being a little underutilized. What do y'all think?
Well, Michael, you want to lead off with your first show with your first caller?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. During this time when you have a new manager, everyone has to prove themselves. And Jaap coming in under new circumstances in the midst of a pandemic, everyone has a clean slate. Maybe not the guy who has the armband on any club. He usually gets the benefit of the doubt, hence why he's a skipper. But this is a discovery process in the midst of a tournament. I think the pragmatic approach, I do agree with you. When you're starting out in a new project, you can't go guns blazing. That'd be naive. And I think that with Brandon, I think the minutes he gave, being dangerous, he missed a chance. But continuing to be dangerous, continuing to be a thorn, that will only breed well for more minutes. And he has to take advantage of his moment. You're saying, why are we giving a chance? Well, when you're an attacking player, you have to score those. You can't miss it and say, why am I not playing? You're an attacker, you have to score. Attackers get paid to score. And be like a midfielder who's saying, why am I not playing? You can't connect the pass. Well, you're not going to play as much. And that's not a knock on Brandon. We all miss chances. And what I took from his presence on the field, he has all the physical tools. He has the pace. He has the aggression. And now it's just that little bit of focus that'll get him in the lineup or get him more minutes and get him more opportunities, which is taking advantage of your chances.
Yeah, I think in Brandon's defense a little bit, he was kind of brought in the last minute of the game. The tactics didn't quite fit. I think his best ability is that target man. We weren't playing a lot of crosses into the box. So he got that one chance, and you're absolutely right. get that header on the ball, it really should go in. But even in the little bits we have seen of him, particularly I think against Red Bulls the first week of the season, way back in March, if we can remember 10 years ago, he had a really great hold-up play that released Alan Cruz for that goal. So I think I think Michael's absolutely right on it. There's definitely things that he can add to our attack. It's just whether or not he fits into the tactics of any given match. I think as a hold-up player, I think he's got a lot of potential there. And I think you're right, Richard. I'd like to see more of him too. It'll be interesting to see if Stom thinks Regaton and Kubo, if Locadia is out, are still his two, or if he does switch it up. I'd be interested to see it.
Richard, thanks for calling, man. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us back and give us more of your thoughts. So thank you very much for calling in.
Thanks, guys. Furthermore, I'm also get some subs in early, right?
Yes, thank you, Richard.
Yeah. Well, I think you're about to. If FC Cincinnati's late in the match in the draw scenario, or if we're winning, I think it's bound to happen because there's a quick turnaround that's going to have to happen for FC Cincinnati if they come in third place in the group year. They're going to play, I think, Saturday or Sunday. So, man management is going to be the name of the game. So, guys, let's dive down into our debate portion of the show. And this question we've got, even before the match started was Jaap Stam dropping that 3-5-2 formation. Is this sustainable for FC Cincinnati? Bill, do you think it's a long-term formation for FC Cincinnati?
No, I don't. And I think it comes down to the same. Well, I think it's not what we want, right? I mean, we want a possession-oriented attacking soccer. That's what they've said. So I think, that's not the plan. We build our pieces around Locadia up top, with the vision of a 4-3-3, having two solid wingers beside him. I think when he's healthy, we're going to see that switch back. Maybe there's a 3-4-3 in transition if the defense is still struggling a little bit. But I think we're going to want to see that 3-man front, and maybe even talk about a 4-man front with Sem Young right behind him. But no, I don't think we're going to see it long term. I think this is something we needed to do because we needed to not bleed goals. So
I'm just impressed that Stom had the flexibility to say, no, okay, you're right. We don't have Locadia. We don't have De Jong. We don't have Cruz. I'm facing this opponent. What can I do to give us the best chance at a result? I love that. It's one thing, and I know and I defended him pretty fervently last week that, if he wants to stick to his system, let's give him that time. But for him to say, okay, I know I'm kind of in my mental preseason, but I know these guys need a result. What can I do to get them there? I mean, I think it was I don't know if it's I think I agree with Bill. I don't know if it's something we'll do. I'd like to see it, kind of. I'm curious about it because you see like a 3-4-3 with Antonio Conte work all the time. But I am at least impressed that he was able to divert from his preferred system just to get us a result. I was impressed with that.
Michael, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to add to that. We talk about Atlanta United. Let's not forget when Atlanta United first started in the league, they didn't start with a 3-4-3. That was something that through injuries and through a shift in personnel coming in and out that they adapted to, and it became their recipe for success and ultimately an MLS Cup. So just because there's this ideal philosophy in how you want to play, the personnel you want, if and when the team reacts and reacts well, in this game, it's all about winning and results. And after that, the style and the philosophy, I think ideally, you want one philosophy, one style that suits, when you have your top players, your best 11, I think Locadia is a handful. I love the unpredictability. He just has this swagger about him. And Sem De Jong's, his ability speaks for himself. But it's getting those two guys fit and healthy and adapted to the MLS, and that takes time. And I think, when things haven't gone your way with results, getting that taste of winning means everything. And you build from that and say, hey, how can we improve a little bit more? Now we know we have this sense of resilience that we may have not known before. What can we do differently? This is, we're saying it's not a must win, but you want to always control your destiny. But this is a must win game against a rival. And a team who got a taste of victory, but has their backs up against the wall a little bit as well. There's all to play for, and they're quite exposable. So, going back to what Bill said about who will step up and show their teeth? I think the manager can set everyone up as much as he wants, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the players. Yes, managers set you up and give you the tools, but if you don't execute as players, if you don't rise to the occasion, then you're back to the drawing board. And I really hope that the new life that's been injected in the team with this result, I really hope it pays dividends. And I think it will pay dividends to make it competitive and ultimately give the result, that we need to get into the next round.
Hey, you kind of stole some of my thunder. I was going to have a great follow-up question with you about, preparation. You've worked months at this, at this 4-3-3, and then all of a sudden within days, switching complete formations. I mean, how much of a challenge is that for, a player to just completely throw an idea of what we want to do originally out the window and say, guys, to get 3 points or to get a point in this tournament, you have to fulfill this, this tactic?
I think sometimes the anticipation and having too much time to think about it almost works against you, because it throws everything you've known out, and now you're overthinking. But when it's on the fly, when it's just thrown upon you as a need to get a result, it's almost refreshing. It's like in other sports, and we'll stick to soccer because I don't want to be that guy that's trying to compare apples to oranges. But in soccer, especially as a player, when you're a central midfielder or holding midfielder and coach says, go play as number 8, there's something refreshing and you almost don't think and you just go and do and you play on instinct. And I think at times with this group and with the club, I think a little bit more of that. And it's not switch everything on the fly every week. That's chaotic. But I think getting out of that rut of, the muscle memory of, let's not make a mistake. It's getting close. Let's not lose this one. But instead, you know what? Let's just go play on instinct. Frankie, get the ball, do your thing. Harris, get the ball, break the lines. Big man, destroy everyone in the air. 5 shots, do what you do. I think ultimately it's back to the basics of giving people everyone just do your job and have different roles and building trust of when it gets difficult. And big games breed that. And you almost don't have time to think because it's a big game. You just go and play. And at the end of the day, it's, those who play on instinct and have a little bit of smarts, but it's the instincts that rise up to the occasion and make the difference.
Now, we've heard this line uttered, with the guys on Extra Time Radio, with Taylor Twellman, that there was no urgency to score. Clay, do you think that, we just don't have the tools right now? Or do you think that this is, maybe a flaw in the formation, or maybe it just takes time for, this goals to come in a good build-up, only playing this formation for one game and practicing for like a week?
Yeah, I think I know, Brian in particular, you've said this many times before, no matter how many times we want this not to be preseason, it's not preseason. But Stom, in a sense, is sort of, I feel like, is approaching these games almost like training exercises. Like, okay, so we have this tough opponent who can really break us on the counter, who could, if we lose possession, they're really going to make us pay. How do we take that away from them? First and foremost, keep them on a clean sheet. So you are sitting, 10 or 11 players behind the ball almost all the time. And then, but we did see there was some aggressive tactics going forward, particularly in the second half, when Gutman and Zhao, and Coach Goff talks about this on his amazing podcast this week, where they were almost set up in a 3-3-4, which is so odd. But yeah, I think we did rely on Zhao a lot in the second half in that formation. And obviously Frankie's Wonder Strike really sealed the deal. But I do think this was that was the goal for that match, was, hey, let's be stable. Let's be sturdy. We'll slowly get our way into the game, and hopefully we can do something. And Kubo almost had a great chance. Guzan made a great save. I think without guys like Locadia and Cruz and De Jong, you kind of have to you have to fight with the soldiers you have and the soldiers you want. And so if you played a traditional 4-3-3, I mean, we could have seen another 4-0 like Columbus did. So I'm not too bothered by it. I think going forward with players healthy, we'll be able to have a little more teeth on the attack, like Bill was talking about.
Well, man, I don't think I see this as a training exercise, though. I mean, I think if he was really thinking about this, like we are going to be just trying out stuff and learning stuff, I don't think we would have seen this. I think he would have stuck to the 4-3-3. And honestly, I think he played this one. I think he played for a draw is what he wanted. And I think it was, we need to not lose by 4-0. I think we need to hopefully not lose. And probably wasn't at that point even worried about getting through the group stage, but literally just not doing as bad as we did in the first game. And I think, I know that sounds bad, but I think that's literally where we were. And I think that, coming around to this game, after we won, I mean, Frankie, wonder goal and all that, it puts us in a position where we can get through group stage now. And I think that puts a different mentality on this game. So I think, game one was about, this is what I think we should do. Let's see what happens. Okay, that didn't really work out the way I want. Game two, that can't happen again. So let's try to focus on defense and at least see if we can get a draw out of this. Game three is now, let's get points. I mean, it may not be a win, but let's get points because points will likely advance us.
Yeah, low bar for success, I guess you could say, and give us the option for later. Now, Michael, transitioning towards the next match, you need to look at your personnel, and a couple things that stood out to me was the play of our wingbacks, Joe Zhao in particular. I mean, are these the guys you roll with? I mean, you still have Greg Garza out there. You have some weapons.
Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Wise words from a decent man. It's, the game of soccer sometimes can get overcomplicated. It literally, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You go with the guys who've earned your trust, especially as a new manager. And Joe Zhao, first name on the list. Well, Joe and Frankie. Joe gave man of the match sort of performance, first name on the list, along with the guy who wears the armband, as I always joke around. Frankie, obviously, but I think you stick with the guys who've gotten the job done, and you give them the confidence, and those are the starting blocks and the building blocks of the tools to go and get another result. It's almost like when you're in the trenches with someone, experiencing battle after battle and common experiences. That's what builds trust, and that's what builds resolve and character within the team. And that trickles down to the rest of the roster. And the guys who got the job done, let them know that, hey, you got the job done, but don't rest, because this is another big game that'll take another Herculean effort, especially against the New York team that also has everything to play for. So Joe, and I thought Andrew did well late in the game to snuff out some of the attacks coming down his side. And he's a young guy that he's got a lot to prove himself, within the league. And so he showed he was hungry for it. Play him again. And you keep playing the guys that are showing hunger. And when Bill talked about teeth, like, you need to find those guys who have teeth. And no better stage to see that than in a game where there's everything on the line in a tournament format.
Mm-hmm. I was really impressed how that formation kind of went from that 3-5-2 to almost like a 3-3-4 with Gutmann and Zhao up there. Those two guys, impressing the heck out of me. And then, of course, seeing Frankie take that next level, his first touch. Now, Bill, I mean, are we seeing a future national team player, or do we? He's a young guy. Set the realistic expectations for his personal growth.
Well, first, he is a national team player. He may not have played with the full adult national team. He played with the U20s, I believe. Missed the U23s for the
he missed the U20 World Cup. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, U20 World Cup. Yeah, I knew he missed one. But anyway, unfortunately, he was not getting a lot of playing time at the time. But yeah, I mean, he's played national team. I think he is for sure a player who has the potential to stay in that picture. Berhalter's down there, so he certainly is going to get a chance to look at him. Whether or not that actually happens, will depend on how he keeps going. But if he continues to be a standout player for this team, he's at least going to get attention and noticed. And I would think a shot to prove that he can do it at a bigger level. Generally players who are playing get to play, and players who are playing well get to play. And right now he's fulfilling both those requirements. So yeah, I think he's got a lot of room to grow.
Awesome. Well, let's put a bow on Atlanta right now. We've seen a lot of things that will transition towards this match versus New York. But before we jump into the New York match, it is the time where we give a special shout out to all of our tremendous supporters. Of course, Tim Bronsel, Tom Rose, Matt Adamchick, Mike Hudson, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Matt Imholt, Matthew Long, Joe Coling, and Tara Mullins. Thank you so much for your support. And to learn more on how you can support Cincinnati Soccer Talk, head over to cincinnatисoccertalk.com/support. Your support allows us to add new aspects to our show offerings. Look at Clay's pretty new camera, for example. So, it's great for our watch-alongs, writing staff, all these additions to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. So thank you guys so much for your support. And, we look forward to do a lot more for you guys this year. All right. So, guys, let's dive down into New York real quick. Every time I feel like it's a do-or-die game for FC Cincinnati, it's freaking New York Red Bulls. Do or die, 2017 U.S. Open Cup, 2018 Eastern Conference semifinal. Are we going to catch a darn break versus these guys?
We had the better second half in March. We did. We had the majority possession that game. We created good chances. The 3 goals we gave up were all on a counterattack. If we can limit those mistakes, if we can keep the ball like we did much better. I mean, obviously we didn't have a lot going for it against Atlanta, but we didn't make a lot of mistakes either. So if we can keep those mistakes limited, we can take advantage of the possession we have. I think even without Locadia, I think we have a chance to at least get a point. I hope he's there. Obviously, I want him in the game, but even if he's not,
I always ask, when we're doing these things, of things to watch out for, for this match, and I think Michael, you might be able to give us some ideas. What was it like to come up against the New York Red Bulls, or the hallmark of playing against them or their style? What makes them unique to play against?
I think first and foremost, when you think of New York Red Bulls, you think of the word press. They're notorious for coming out and pressing you for 90 minutes. It's almost that like welcome to hell, where it's a shock factor. I remember when we went and played them in what felt like the cauldron of Red Bull Stadium 2 years ago. We were building out, and before we knew it, we were down a goal, and they were just on us for about 30, 35 minutes, and you almost can't breathe. This New York Red Bull team has gotten away from their traditional 4-2-3-1 formation that they had under Jesse Marsh, and they've gone to more 4-2. I can't talk right now. 4-4-2, and in that 4-4-2, there's a lot of gaps to expose them. However, they play more on the counter than they ever have before. Before they had slick passing, build out, possession, and they still have some semblance of that. But this team is, the Red Bulls team looks to hit you on the counter. They cede possession and then look to break. You saw that in the goal that they scored against Atlanta United, where Atlanta, for all their possession, tiki-taka sort of football, one ball over the top, goal, game, set, match. They see it out and close it up. So as much as, FC Cincinnati is prepping for this match to, maybe to put a team like New York to say, hey, you have the ball. We'll let you be the aggressor, and we'll counter you. One of the most powerful things you can do to counterattack team is counter their counter. So when Red Bulls go, and they've always gone, and they throw a lot of numbers forward. And now for FC Cincinnati is, can you counter their counterattack? And when you go for the counter, you have to go for it, because that's your opportunity to score and potentially win the match.
Yeah, my thing to watch is going to be the possession. Who ends up having the ball more often? Does FC Cincinnati challenge Red Bulls? No. You do something with it, and we'll sit back and we'll absorb that pressure, and then we'll release Mane or Kubo or Dow, hopefully Locadia or somebody on that counter. That's the statistic I look for.
All right. Well, no, I get what you're meaning there. So I think that at some point we need to figure out, is what Mike said earlier, the pressing of it and, putting pressure on there. Mike, is this where we can how do I say it? Do we need two guys? Will two guys on FC Cincinnati, our front two, maybe put, I guess, pressure on their back four to make mistakes if they're trying to play out the back?
Yeah, I think it sets up well. If you allow a team like Red Bull to have possession, they have a tendency to pick you apart. And, this tournament, they've really shown a tendency towards doing up back throughs, deep line runners running in behind and breaking lines. I think you're almost setting yourself up a bit for failure at times if you just sit in a shell for 90 minutes. And it's a chess match of this game. It's a big game. So in big games, teams just don't go all out in the first 5 minutes. There's a chess match of sorts where you see, okay, what are the tactical setups? What's the matchup? I think Joe Zhao, feed the hot hand while you can. Joe Zhao one-on-one on the flanks against any of the Red Bull, right side or left side. I think you take that option. He's got pace and pace and pace. You give Joe the license to get up and down, and and I think building out of their pressure, you get Harris as much on the ball, but you also protect Harris because as great of a passer as Harris is, he's not the most athletic guy. Whoever stays next to him, which if it's Caleb, you always make sure tactically. It reminds me of playing with Richie Ryan. Amazing passer, but not always the most athletically gifted. So when I played with him, I always knew that if he was under pressure and there is an opportunity that he might lose it, which is like a 0.000001% chance, I'm always in a place, you always make sure you're in a place to be there just in case. And you never want to be that player that says, I wish I would have seen ahead. And so, but I think it'll be a chess match of sorts. Chris Armas is a very tactically astute coach, and both teams are in it for the result. So in the first 5 to 10 minutes, we'll see the matchups unfold, but my money's on Joe Zhao and the one-on-one matchups outside.
Okay, well, it should be a very exciting match, deciding match on ESPN on Wednesday night. Of course, we're going to have a watch-along, so please join us if you want to hear us guys, us talking heads at Cincinnati Soccer Talk, give analysis with the match. All right, so guys, let's get into real quick on how we're going to advance in this tournament. Really, right now, it looks like we're either 4th or 5th in the wild card position. Essentially, we got to get a point. If we lose, there is some really weird chance with, I think, RSL blowing out Sporting KC 5-0, but legitimately, it needs to be FC Cincinnati winning or drawing in this match. If we do draw, get us 4 points, we'd come in 3rd place in the group, which means we'll likely either play Orlando at 8 p.m. on Saturday or the Group D winner on Sunday at 11. A couple things if you want to watch out. Tune in tonight at 10:30 and hopefully pray that Montreal will beat or draw DC United. Then, also tune in on Wednesday. As I said earlier, RSL, that match for Sporting Kansas City can play into it. And then, hopefully a couple of those things can play out. Check out our Twitter, our Facebook feed, our CincinnatiSoccer.com on other ways for us to have FC Cincinnati advance if they should draw. So now it's the time where we have all the listener questions that we compiled during the show or during the week, and this is the time where we invite Nick to join us back in on the show and ask some questions.
Well, thank you for having me back. By the way, great show tonight. All right, first question, of course, if you want to get in touch with us at Cincy Soccer Talk on Twitter, you can also email us feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. This first one is from Jeff Tabbets, friend of the show. With every team having played 2, who are your odds-on favorites to win MLS is back?
Well, I'll let Michael start with that one.
Obviously, I'm biased. FC Cincinnati.
There we go.
No, the two teams that played between LAFC, they're always a favorite. They have so much firepower going forward. Diego Rossi decided to put on his Carlos Vela hat and score 4 goals against a rival. You can't count them out. I really think Minnesota United is shown to be a threat between being practical and good on the counter and, being built to win close games. But the two teams that have really impressed me, I think Philadelphia Union, in one of my former clubs. I think Brendan Erickson is really showing himself to be a player who's taking his game to another level. I think Berhalter is definitely going to give him a look with the national team, and he's going to be in the pool. And Orlando is really showing some hunger under the new manager, new talisman Anani, and they found a system that works for them, and they have young players who are hungry and are playing a great supporting cast. So those are my teams that have really impressed me so far.
Clay, you can go.
Well, I'm feeling pretty great about my choice for Portland as the dark horse because they're looking pretty good. Not only are their attackers taking advantage of their chances to score, but their defensive solidity is so much better than it looked back when the season first started in March. I'm really impressed with Zavarese and Abobasi in particular. He had a wonder goal too, the angle he hit it at. So I'm feeling good about them. Love my Timbers Army out there. But I think my actual favorite is, I hate to say Brian is right, but Columbus Crew Soccer Club, I hate to say it, it's incredibly impressive what they're pulling off right now. I mean, Zella Ryan is sitting today, but I don't know if that game's ending or not. I will be by the time this is out, I guess. But he's just come out like a firecracker. And Zardes is playing much better than before. I think he's really finding better ways to finish, and his first touch is getting better. And that defense isn't giving up much either. So I would not want to play them in the next round for sure.
And Bill, give us your odds-on favorite.
Yeah, I'm in the black and gold camp too. Yeah, I mean, just as an update, since Clay brought it up, we're 2 minutes left of regulation time before stoppage time. 0-1 Columbus without their $1 million number 10 or $7 million number 10.
You'll be happy to know that Fernando Adi is in the match, Clay.
Yes, get a goal, Fernando.
Clay, you have a better chance of scoring.
Hey, he's
he doesn't.
He's better than I am, at least. Give him that. I was a wing back. You don't want me to score. You don't want me up there.
But I think if you look, I mean, I think the group we're in, Group E, is a tough group. I know that I think Group D was kind of talked about as a group of death, but this one's a pretty tough one too. And for them to pull 9 points out of this group, to me, says a lot. They have looked good in every single game. They have not yet been scored against. I assume that will happen in the knockouts at some point, and we'll see how they respond to that. But they have just been just the most together-looking team coming out of the break of any team out there, I think. So, yeah, tough to say it, but I think Columbus.
You guys remember last week on the show, or it might have been 2 weeks ago, when we were making predictions, and I said, don't be shocked if Orlando got out of the group. Mm-hmm. Play the tape. Mm-hmm. I said it. All right, speaking of Philly, this is from Patrick Shelley on Facebook. He says, was that a missed handball last night during the Union game? Michael, are you still a big fan of Philly despite the obvious love for Cincy?
Big fan of Philly despite...
Yeah, I'm still a big fan for Philadelphia. It's where I had my first cheesesteak. Isn't it obvious? No, Philadelphia, my experience with Philadelphia, it was such a formative time in my career, in my life, and it's what helped me to become a man. If you can survive the city of brotherly love, you can survive anything. Philly toughens you up, whether you want to or not, and my experiences there is something I'm really grateful for. And like I said, it helped shape my character and integrity and resolve, throughout my career. And in terms of that call, it's hard for me to say 6-1, half a dozen the other.
Yeah.
For me, but I think the big focus that I take away from what the Union are doing is it's just a combination of guys who have been loyal servants to the club in Ray Gaddis and Andre Blake doing their job. And when you have a group of guys that are literally doing their job and serve up the game for your go-to guys, you have a new wonder kid in Brendan Erickson who's stepping up. And I mean, one of my favorite players, tricks, and I feel like every time I watch him, I go and unload the popcorn from the microwave and see what he's going to do next. And I'm happy I don't have to play against him right now because the man can ball, and he's a treat to watch. So if I'm a Union fan, I'm definitely teeming with confidence about this team, and I think they're going to be a team that not a lot of people want to play. I agree with Columbus Crew; they're firing all cylinders, but in knockout format tournaments, it's usually a team that frustrates a team like that, a team who's been tested, a team who hasn't had things go wrong. Their character gets tested along the way. So I'm really interested to see how Columbus Crew keeps us up. But I agree with both of you guys. They've been absolutely impressive.
All right, this next one is from Nathan Tony. Was the way the team played against Atlanta strategy to keep the game low scoring, or are we still outmatched in most games?
I'll
Yes,
say,
and-
go
Go ahead. No, Brian, please.
I was actually going to throw it to Michael. We had a great conversation, before we hopped on here on why, and it's almost like kind of like a last resort on why you'd have to go to this.
Well, before I definitely, Clay, you look like you wanted to jump in, so feel free.
I was
Go
just
for it.
saying that it's kind of, I think yes and yes. I feel like both of them sort of work out that way. I mean, you clearly, it was a strategy to keep Atlanta held back. I think if we played in the way we played against Columbus, if we tried that high possession 4-3-3, Frankie's still learning some defensive discipline in that midfield three. If he's out of position, if Harris gets the ball taken from him, like Michael said he was able to do every 1 in 1,000 in practice, then they're on the counter. Barco scores, then they can shut us down. So I think we would have been outmatched. I think that was a clear tactic that leveled the playing field. I'm excited to see if Stam can do that every week, or if we grow in that confidence in the preferred style. So I know that's kind of a non-answer, but I think there is kind of truth to both.
All right, this next one is from Spencer Blevins on Facebook. Thoughts on if Cruz as a more big-to-box, I guess I should have said box-to-box midfielder, would excel playing in a role that Giao played last game, the fifth defender / hidden wing to attack. Not everybody all at once.
Well, I don't know.
We stumped the group.
No,
Yeah,
I haven't thought of that. That's an interesting idea. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. I think you'd probably plug him into maybe where Stanko played, because he can give you a little more going forward. There was a few times where Stanko got near the top of the box and he just didn't have that killer instinct because he's just more of a defensive player. I think his solidity was great against Atlanta, but I think Cruz against Red Bulls can maybe open some things up. But I mean, he's got the motor for it. I mean, I don't know. That might be it's not a terrible idea.
He's
Yeah,
coming
I'd be
off an
interested.
injury.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear Michael's take on this as a player, but to me, it feels like, and again, I'm not a baller, so I'm not going to pretend like I know this stuff, but it feels like a central player tends to like to play central, and an outside player likes to play outside. So it's okay to take wingers and turn them into backs. It's okay to take backs and turn them into wingers. I think you can take central midfielders, you can drop them into center back, kind of, and vice versa. But I think to take a player who's traditionally a central player and move him outside, it's a different kind of game. And I'm not sure how successful they generally tend to be at that. And we kind of saw a little bit of that in some of our FCC history, where we had a lot of central midfielders playing outside wings and such. And I don't know that it went really great, and I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Didn't Koch play Cruz in a right winger in a 4-2-3-1 last season?
I'm just leaving it alone. Just leave it alone.
Just spin it out there.
So.
What do you think, Michael?
No, I agree with Clay. I think you stay away from that. You stay away from that with a 13-foot pole, not even a 5-foot pole. Every time I watch Alan Cruz, he creates something. He's dangerous. He's a central player. That's take a creative player who, when he doesn't have to worry as much about the defensive responsibilities, and playing as an 8, in that 3-5-2 would give him defensive responsibilities, but he scores goals from a central place, and he has, since he's been at FC Cincinnati, and he's played as a central player throughout his career at different points. So you don't reinvent the wheel with a guy like that. Giao, I feel like I'm Joe Zhao's hype man. He's earned it from how he
should, yeah.
So he did. But he's a wide player, and he's got pace, and he's shown the work ethic of getting up and down. So to complement someone like that with Alan Cruz, keep Cruz inside, have him short passes, intricate passing, getting in the right spots. You see what happens when you get an attacking midfielder in Frankie Amaya playing in an attacking midfield central position behind the defensive midfield line. Good things happen. When you have a guy like that thinking about, I can't get forward as much because now I have to make the run back as a wing back, you lose a little bit of what makes him special and what makes him different. So like I said, I changed my mind. Stay away with it from a 15-foot pole, not even 13.
Great question, though. This last one comes from Dr. Hodenball. Michael, I'd love to hear a player's eye perspective. How has the U.S. soccer landscape as a whole, and MLS in particular, changed since you entered the professional world with Chivas USA in 2009? Where do you think soccer in the States is headed?
Love that question. Easiest answer, there's no more Chivas. So that's the first. It's changed so much, Chivas doesn't exist. It's changed drastically. I remember hearing that when I first came into the league from the older guys who they said, be grateful that you're entering the league where it's at now. When I came in, games are on Fox Soccer, and gosh, I don't even know who was announcing at the time. But it was cool to be on national TV. You're finally getting on ESPN. The David Beckhams, the Thierry Henrys. You're playing against your idols. And now the league has shifted to such a more of a foreign focus and homegrown youth talent. And you have your veteran guys who, smaller or little by little, the roster capacity for veteran MLS American guys is getting smaller because the homegrown talent is getting better. The younger talent is getting that much better, and it's bridging the gap. So to be a veteran guy, you have to be able to do what you do very well and do it in a capacity that's better than a younger guy. Because younger players, they have this fearlessness and they're hungry. And the international players, having better quality players from around the world, take the quality of the league up. When I was starting my career, if you would have told me Sim de Jong was going to come, some of the other guys that you watch, I mean, Nani, are you kidding me? Like, I feel like I had Nani posters. No, I'm kidding. I didn't have Nani posters. But the quality of the league keeps getting better and better with the infusion of young South American talent. My only concern for MLS and some of where it might go is you really see the impact of the U.S. national team. You need young, quality American soccer players playing at the highest levels. And if that's in the MLS, they need to be playing. And if that's abroad, they need to be playing, they need to be pushed. And if your roster is flooded with foreign guys who are quality players, it impacts the national team. It impacts the growth of soccer from a youth standpoint because young American players, their chances become limited. So those are two things that I've been keeping an eye on as the league has grown. And it'll be interesting to see how that continues to impact the U.S. national team as we prepare for another World Cup cycle.
He may not have had a Nani poster, but he definitely had a Ronaldo and a Rooney poster for sure.
Sure. We'll talk about that in the next show.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nick, for those listener questions. And guys, please make sure to send all your questions that you have to feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com, or you can put it in the chat on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or of course, #AskCST, and we'll get as many questions as we possibly can. Thank you to Los Caballeros, Patrick Shelley, Spencer Blevins, Dr. Hodenball, Matt Rock, Nathan Tony, and Jeff Tebbets. Sorry we couldn't get to all of you, but thank you guys for sending those in this week. Guys, it's time to wrap up this week's Cincinnati Soccer Talk show, episode 216. And before we do wrap up, I always like everybody to give their final thoughts, and we are going to start with the almost triplet. Clay Winstead, give us your final thoughts on the MLS is back, or whatever you want, man.
Yeah, well, I've now gotten into the rhythm that I know you're going to ask me first, so I actually prepared today.
Every time.
I should be able to keep it short and sweet. Since we heard that new member of Sporting Kansas City come into the bubble with that positive test, we've had 3 straight rounds of testing without a player in the bubble testing positive, and I think that's incredibly heartwarming to see, to know that these guys are able to focus on their job and they're probably feeling safer which means they can go out in the field and give it their all. The games have been absolutely wild and insane. I don't know how many yellow cards happened in San Jose, Chicago. I lost count. But I had all that anxiety about feeling for these guys and hoping they're doing okay and worrying about the logistics of it all. And to see that it's finally working its way out, that the bubble has held, has allowed me to enjoy these games, and they've been really enjoyable. Like, we really should be, taking this. We should not take this for granted, I should say. And the NWSL Challenge Cup has also been an incredible ride. I know it's another streaming service, but if you can fork over $5, watch some of those games on CBS All Access. But yeah, I'm just happy to see that the players are testing negative and the games are doing great, and it's just been a fun ride.
Well, thank you very much for those words, Clay. And of course, I go to you because you're here every week. So you're my man. Thank you so much for joining us in. And I turn over to the Snare Master, the Wolfman, Bill Wolf. Your final thoughts.
Yeah. I like for us to take our destiny into our own hands, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that I hear talking on social media about, how do we get through by losing, right? Well, okay, great. I mean, I know there's a chance to get through for losing. I don't want that to happen, right? In my mind, we need to go out there. We need to prove that we deserve to move on. And part of that is to get a result tomorrow. I think, even getting a result tomorrow, assuming that we get a tie, there are other games that make a difference. And I would just say to everybody, in 18 minutes or whatever it is a key game coming up. It's I believe it's
DC.
Montreal, DC. Yeah, Montreal, DC. Exactly. We want, that game to be either a Montreal win or a tie. Either one of them puts them in a position where a draw for us gets us through, because we already know a draw beats us out of Group A. That would get us better than, I believe that's Group D. C. Anyway, it doesn't matter what group they are. But anyway, we know that we need to beat two groups to get through. That's a key game. Watch the game coming up, and let's make sure that tomorrow we have, destiny in our hands. We go out, we get our point, or we get our 3 points, and we go through.
Awesome, Bill. Thank you so much for joining us again, man. And that's a great put. And guys, at worst, keep watching Major League Soccer. That's what we're here for. Grow the game. Let's pump those numbers up a little bit. So, and to the newcomer, Michael, give us your final thoughts on your evening and in your first episode as an analyst and co-host.
Well, first and foremost, this is a lot of fun. So get that out of the way. But final thoughts are simple for me. This is such a crossroads for the club and a crossroads for this group of players and the manager. Who will be the one to write history and send the club into the knockout stages? And I love what Brian said about take it into your own hands. That's an aggressive mentality. That's a winning mentality. And this is an opportunity to change the narrative of of FC Cincinnati back into, hey, we've had a difficult stretch, but we are back to compete, and not just be competitive, but we're here to make a statement and to win and change and write the course of history into something positive for the club, and most importantly for the fans. Because I think as fans, FC Cincinnati fans have been so patient and to stick by the club, and it's because the fans care. It's because you guys care, because we all care as a former player. It shows that we care. That's why we take to Twitter to rant. When you don't care, you don't do that. So I'd like to see which players step up and this team continue to build, whether it's the prettiest result or not. There's nothing like winning. The best advice I ever got while playing is winning is always better than losing. Go figure. And it's so true. When you win, the game becomes that much more fun. You just want to be around each other, and it's a trench, it's a trench warfare. Not to use the word very lightly and not literally, but it's that when you're in the trenches with each other, you build on that, and there's no experience like it. So I wish the team the best of luck, and I'll definitely be rooting and watching from my lovely couch.
Well, it's definitely going to be an exciting match, and hopefully it's something that we can watch for 90 minutes on the edge of our seats versus that Columbus game when I think me and Clay and Coach got hammered drunk at like 2 a.m. on a Saturday, Sunday night. So we'll see. But on my final thought, I just want to watch more FC Cincinnati because I don't know how long it's going to be till the next time we get out there. It's the 21st as we're recording this. It's potentially August, like I think 21st, or maybe if we're lucky, the 15th that we get to see them again. So it could be a month, 4 weeks. So I just win some games. Let's see each other a little bit more. Let's root for the orange and blue. So that's really, really what I want to see. And then the other final thought is we're going to have some fun again tomorrow night on Cincinnati Soccer Talks Periscope, as well as our Twitter. We're going to have a watch along again. So please join us there. We had 2,100 of you guys tune into that first watch along. That was at like 11 o'clock at night. So I can't wait to see what we can do again. So that was one heck of an engagement for you guys. I know you guys all like hearing me and Clay and Coach and Michael and Nick more so than Taylor Twellman at this point. So join us. We won't say as many bad things. So we hope to see you guys there on our social media about 7:55 p.m.-ish Eastern on Wednesday night. So, Nick, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up here, my man?
I'm good, man. Congrats, Michael. Welcome.
Very much.
Awesome. Well, for Clay, for Bill, for Michael, and for Subes in the producer chair, this is Brian Weigel signing off on episode 216. And as always, be better to each other. Have a great week and go FC Cincinnati.